Hi, I'm Suffer Jerome, and I have a couple of thoughts about the Star Wars recasting rumors. Rumors are flying about so many things, of course, because there's a Star Wars movie being made, and I'll have some thoughts on that in another video. So, right now, there's a lot of rumors flying around that they're recasting the original trilogy characters of Luke, Leia, and Han, and I have mixed feelings about what's happening. Obviously, Han Solo was recast because they had the movie Solo, and that came out. Princess Leia was recast because in Rogue One we see her at the end, and so they did have a lovely lady playing Princess Leia, and they CGI'd Carrie Fisher's face on her. And I've commented before on how when I saw her face CGI'd like that, I literally felt a punch in the gut and thought she was going to die soon, and she did. I was not happy being right about that. And then apparently Luke was recast during The Force Awakens. Now I find this curious because I remember when The Force Awakens came out, and I remember when the DVD came out, and people were, wondering about what kind of extras would be on the DVD and such. And at the time, I believe it was J.J. Abrams who said that there wasn't a lot of unused footage because pretty much everything shot was used, so there was only a couple of little outtake scenes they could show. Yet, as the years have gone on, all of a sudden there's all these mountains of things that were shot and never used. So he lied, but what else is new? Everyone lies in Hollywood, right? So apparently there had been a scene shot between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader battling. Which Ray was supposed to see in her Force vision, but then I guess they cut it because it was too complicated or whatever. That would have been so cool to see. So Luke was actually recast then as well. So now the speculation is that they're going to suddenly make some new movies about these characters, which really pisses me off, like massively pisses me off, because yeah, I've been screaming for 40 years that I want to see Luke, more adventures with Luke Skywalker in a major motion picture. I don't want to have to follow several comic books and books and cartoons or whatever. I wanted to see as George Lucas's original vision. Those of you who have, I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this know a lot about Star Wars, and you already know about his vision, how he created Star Wars based on the serials he would watch as kids. And I'm about 10 years maybe more younger than George Lucas, so I personally didn't go to the movies for these serials because I'm younger than that, but I know what he meant because we could see them on TV. And so you'd go to the theater on a Saturday afternoon and they'd show cliffhangers. And so you'd see like a cowboy story or whatever, and then it would end literally with a cliffhanger, like the stage goes flying off the cliff or whatever. And then you'd wait for the week till you went back to the matinee the next week and you'd see how the story continues. And so it made sense to me that back in the day when Star Wars was first created, the 1977, that's now called A New Hope version, no one knew it was going to be a big success. It was just this weird movie that came out of nowhere, and yet it became this amazing phenomenon. And I'm old enough to remember a world before Star Wars and a world after Star Wars, because I was a teenager when Star Wars came out. So I had assumed too, because I read so much about it at the time, that there would be more stories with Luke Skywalker. So when the prequels were made, I was mad at the prequels, not because they're badly done or anything like that. I think actually there's a lot of amazing creativity in there. There's just some scenes that the acting is like, what is happening? But the story itself, it was great. I hated Jar Jar Binks with the passion of 1,000 fiery suns, but I wasn't alone with that. But other than that, I was mad at the prequels because there was no Luke Skywalker in them, and I really wanted to see movies because I had a huge crush on Mark Hamill. I wanted to see movies of what happened to Luke after he delivers Darth Vader to the good side or whatever, and I wanted to see what happens next. What does he do? Is he fighting the kingdom? Does he go off to other planets and helps people with their battles? Do they reform the Jedi? Is there a temple? Is there a school? Is there, all these things? The possibilities are limitless because we don't even know if Luke's a human. We don't, the planet has its own solar system, and they fly out to all these millions of places, so there's room for just bazillions of stories. And so I kept waiting all through the 80s and 90s and 2000s for all these stories to come out, that's possibly some stories could be made, while Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and I knew those two would probably be on board with it. I knew Harrison Ford wouldn't be because he complained even back then how he hated being Han Solo, and that's fine. So I didn't really care about him anyways. So the adventures of Luke and Leia, and they could explore their relationship more, and Luke doing things, Leia doing things. Maybe they do things together, maybe they do things separate, and they get married, have kids, whatever. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting my whole life for this to happen, and now suddenly it seems like there's rumblings, and I don't know if Disney's just trying to test the water or what's happening, that now maybe they are going to finally make these movies. Maybe this is the trilogy that Ryan Johnson was talking about. I don't know. But it pisses me off because I want Mark Hamill to be Luke Skywalker because he's Luke Skywalker, and now he's older, and he can only do like older things now because we wouldn't believe him even CGI'd being a swashbuckling young man, flying through the sky ropes, although they really needed to do some scenes like that in these trilogies. So it's interesting to me why now, especially when it seemed very, very clear. It was very clear in The Last Jedi, and even with the handling of The Force Awakens, it's been very clear with how Disney has been handling the franchise, because of how they handled the return of the legacy characters. We're not supposed to care about them. Instead of The Force Awakens, or whatever they wanted to call that movie, instead of it being about Luke and Leia reuniting, or maybe just doing their thing and things happen and then Han Solo gets called in for whatever reason, instead of having three of them and seeing them together on the screen together for the first time in 30 years, instead of giving fan service even for 30 seconds for that, they chose to bring in all these new characters that we're supposed to care about. They have Mary Sue, Ray, and Finn and Kylo, and all these people came in. And so it was very clear Disney wanted us to get attached to the new characters and not give a shit about the old characters. And that was disappointing. And then it's very clear in The Last Jedi that we're supposed to not care about these characters anymore. Kylo keeps saying, let the past die, kill it if you have to. They killed off Luke Skywalker, they killed off Han Solo, and Carrie Fisher died. Like, I still don't understand why Ryan Johnson didn't have Carrie Fisher die in The Last Jedi and not kill Luke. The fan base was devastated that Carrie Fisher was dead, and yet he tormented us by having her die and then bring her back in a stupid way, and then totally traumatized most of us by killing off Luke for no reason. And so to have these new movies now where they've so carefully killed off everything we loved. The Last Jedi didn't even have the catchphrases, and it was so clear that we're supposed to embrace Rose and Rey and Finn and Kylo and Holdo and Phasma and all these characters that came out of nowhere. We're supposed to embrace them and love them and want to see movies about them. And yet now it seems like they're doing an about face and bringing back the old characters. So it's all very confusing, and it points to me again that I'm not sure they ever had a real plan with what they wanted to do with George Lucas's legacy, and it's a shame. Anyway, so there's going to be new stories in some way or another. We know there's a new cartoon version already with them as youngsters running through the galaxy, and as someone said, it's like the Muppet Babies for Star Wars. I love that. I can't remember which YouTuber said that, but it was good. It was good. It's probably even Vince Skyver because he says the funniest things. But um, anyways, so yeah, so this recasting thing is a mystery, and I guess Disney's poking around to see what we're all thinking. And as far as I'm concerned, it's too little, too late. They should have done amazing things with these legacy characters over the last 30 years when everyone was alive and well and healthy and eager to work. And that's all I have to say about that. Nothing against the new young actors who are probably thrilled to death to play these characters. I thought Solo was an excellent movie, and I thought Aldrich did an excellent job as Han Solo. I never particularly cared for the character of Han Solo, nor Harrison Ford, though I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. I can't talk. But I don't think Solo tanked because it was Star Wars fatigue, because there's no such thing as Star Wars fatigue, as other YouTubers say. People will line up for days to see the same damn movie over and over 300, 400 times. So of course they would line up to see brand new movie every week, as George Lucas had left us with cliffhanger ideas, and he himself did the cliffhanger thing and was good at it. The Last Jedi ended and there's no cliffhanger and Luke is dead. So what are we supposed to get excited for in episode 9? There's nothing to get excited for. So I guess we have to go back and see the movies we should have seen a long time ago. Anyways, that's enough for that. Bye.